Whenever I'm feeling into wanting to do a class, I never know exactly what it's going to be. I don't know what the title is. I don't know what I'm teaching. I just know there's something's coming through. I want to bring something. And it always feels so, I want to use the word divine or synchronistic when the name finally comes through and subtle breathing. It was like, oh, that sounds cool. What's that about? You know, what's that actually about? And so maybe I do things a little backwards. I launch the event, I create the page for it, and I make the bones, and then I fill it in. And so it was about, a week or two ago that I came up with this title and made the page and started filling it in. And in this past week and a half or so since I started talking about it, the pieces have come together so that by the time we're here, there is something to present to you guys or something to bring to you. And I can't even say that, I don't have a book here. I don't have notes or anything I'm going off of. I don't even have a set. This is how the class is going to go. These are the techniques that we're going to do. It's all in here. And so we're just going to let it flow. And it's really interesting, right, to have this title come through, to have this teaching come through, and now for me to be here and to literally watch it. And I'm taking this class along with you. I'm going to understand that. I'm also a student here of this teaching. So you've probably seen me talk about it a bit in my posts and the emails. So subtle breathing, what are we even getting into here? There's a lot of breath work out there, there's a lot of meditation, a lot of yoga. And what I've found in the past 5 or 6 years of studying these things and practicing breath work every day and meditation and yoga is a lot of what I was practicing was with the intention of getting somewhere. Like I was trying to do this practice and arrive at this state and, break through some sort of emotion that I was feeling or work through some other sort of thing that I was feeling. And that's all beautiful. And I honor this part of the journey. And what I'm starting to see now is that rather than trying to use a technique to get somewhere, what if the practice was really just about the present moment? It was just really about how present can we be right now without trying to use this to get somewhere else. Because what I found is that the idea that there's even somewhere else to get, the idea that there's another state that I want to be in, is the very thing that creates the state that I'm in right now. So if I believe that there is some more perfect state for me to experience, this better state for me to experience, that is what is going to create some state of lack for me right now. That's what's going to create discomfort and disorder right now. But if I can just breathe and fully be here with each breath, with all the sensations, with all the thoughts, all the stimulations, sensations, I already said sensations. If I can be here with all of it, then there's really nowhere that I need to get. It's really all right here. Now, the other piece of this word subtle, right? We're talking about the details. We're talking about the less obvious. We're talking about fine tuning. So it's this recognition that slight movements have a massive effect. We can think about the butterfly effect, right? This concept that if you go back in time and you step on a butterfly, that's going to change the whole trajectory of the future. If you're on a ship and you have to get to some location and you are just a little bit off in your angle of going to that location, you end up very far off from where you were meant to go. because it adds up over time. If you suppress something small, it snowballs and turns into something much bigger. So very clearly, the attention to detail has a massive effect in our lives. So when it comes to something like our breathwork practice or our meditation, our yoga, our ability to pay attention to the subtle things, to the details, our ability to fully be present with the entirety of the practice is going to have a much greater effect than, let's say, the amount of practice that we do, the length of our practice. So I've been saying all it takes is one conscious breath to be fully present. And there really is only one breath. It's just that we're counting the breaths, right? And we're thinking about the end of the practice while we're in the practice. The real yoga, for example, is, if we're talking about asanas, the real point of that is to be fully present with the pose, with the breath, with the mind, with the body, all at once, fully present with that experience. And a lot of people in this modern age, it's this go, go, go culture. So it's like, let me get through my breathwork practice. I can get to the next thing. And it'll be much more effective to take 10 fully conscious breaths where you are truly there for that without thinking about what comes next, than to do a whole hour of that where you're scattered, where you're all over the place. So then let's zoom out. We apply this to our entire lives. This is not just about breath work. This is the medium upon which we're going to be practicing today. But we look at our entire lives and how present are we with the things we're doing? How often are we just trying to go through the motions to get to the next thing? And then realizing, look, your breath is your ally that's here with you always. There's not a single area of your life that the breath does not touch. There's not a single task that you do where you're not breathing. So if we can get our breath really focused and we can get really aware of the subtleties of each breath, this is something that's going to spread out to all areas of our lives. And one more thing I'll add. In the past, I went through a period where I would wake up and I needed this breathwork practice. I needed to get that hit, breathwork, hour, 2 hours, to even really go into the day. I'd sometimes, and I still have this sometimes, I wake up and I feel this anxiety or I feel overwhelmed or there's just a lot of emotions, a lot of things moving in me. And, it can be useful to sit down and just breathe through that. But what I found is that I was always trying to use that practice to get to this state. And then once I got to that state, then I felt like, okay, now I can go into the day. And life changed. I didn't have the same amount of time to do that every morning, other responsibilities. So then, what do? I had to adapt and I had to find, okay, my breath is always here. I'm always here. I'm always present. This is always available. I don't need to get there. I just need to dig deep enough here. and find it here and find it in that one breath so that it doesn't take a whole hour to get to that state. All that's needed is just a few breaths. All that's needed is one fully conscious breath. If I can fully bring presence with one breath, that's it. And you realize it's always here. The more attention you can give to the moment, the deeper and deeper you come into it, the more you realize that there is this presence that is always here. And it is life itself. It is the life principle alive in all of us. And it takes one to allow themselves to go deep enough into each moment to feel that, to be with that. So the way I see this class flowing right now is we'll do a few different techniques. We'll adjust a few things. And I'd like to allow that to kind of journey us deeper and deeper as we go. So that by the end of our class, it's much less about any sort of technique or form, and much more just about presence and awareness and just being fully present with each breath. So it's kind of like we're doing some breath work into a meditation, another way we can say it. So before I go on, does anyone have any questions, anything to add, anything to say, share? Whether it's a resonance with what I'm saying or an objection. You're wrong.
I object.
I receive it.
I'm
I
just
just
kidding.
want to say I didn't even have to think about it, but I've just been like sort of racing through, not racing exactly, but been moving all day, and I just sat down for this. And as you're speaking, I'm naturally getting into that 10-second breath rhythm. And it's just the cadence that with which you're speaking and the presence held there just like reminded my system of that center. So I'm in the breath work. Drop me in already. That's thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Tio. Yeah, that's it. That's the class. Thank you, guys. See you. See you next time. Uh, David, did you want to share something too besides that? Your objection?
Yeah. Yeah, I was well kind of doing the same thing. As you're speaking, it just kind of brought into my awareness this kind of same level of awareness that I've really been diving into recently is what I've really been calling the isness meditation, just dropping into the present moment and immediately just noticing the isness of all that is and skipping all of the techniques. Um, but with the way that you're wording it and articulating it and the felt sense behind your words makes it really easy to do that. Even in like this type of class setting, and so it brought into my awareness, like knowing the rules in order to break it. Because I feel like I've been doing breath work for probably about a decade as well, now, and it's like I'm just now coming to this, so it's like very divine timing. There's no such thing as coincidence that I'm sitting in this now and I get this reflection from you.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. And I know Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, right? We're just we're exploring what's been said, what's been taught from some different angles, and speaking to the times and to the language that we use today. And I sense that in you and feel that in you, since I met you. So I appreciate you being here and sharing that, and just seeing you as I was speaking, just being in that state and holding that pillar as well. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, that's all beautiful. So I put myself back up here. So to begin, let's just, feel into the breath mechanics a little bit. And we'll just begin with a kind of basic full body diaphragmatic breath. All right. So if you even want to place your hands on your belly, it just feels good to do this sometimes. And I always like to start with an exhale and just let it all out, like squeezing all the air out. And we want to breathe into the belly. Let that belly inflate like a balloon and feel the air rise all the way up into the chest, clavicle, and then releasing from the top to the bottom. And then even, filling up from the belly, we can even feel it going down into our groin. So just feel this fullness of breath, starting from the bottom of the spine all the way up to the top. And I don't want you to strain with this breath either. When I say that, I don't want you to like push your lungs too hard. Fill it up most of the way. And again, releasing from the top to the bottom. And look, I'll just give a visual. We can, this isn't necessary. But if you want, you can really squeeze the belly in at the end of that exhale. And what that's going to do is, on a physiological level, that's just going to help to stimulate digestion and that inner fire. And the most important thing with any of this is that you're really here with your body with each breath. You can take your hands off your belly if you want and just let yourself relax as you do this. Obviously, the mind has this tendency to wander. And all we really need to realize to overcome that is that I'm not the mind. I'm not the thoughts. I'm not the thinker of the thoughts. Thoughts are just a process that's happening, just like any other process in the body. Hey there, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the beginning of this lesson, you will definitely enjoy the guided breath work that continues after these words, after the share, after this transmission. This is available as a pay-as-you-feel, donation-based class. The class already happened, but obviously because this is the video of it. But if you want to catch the recording, the replay of it on demand, sign up at the link in my description, and any support that you can give is much appreciated and assists me and helps me in continuing to do this work and post these videos and share this content and do all that I do. So thank you very much. Again, I trust that you enjoyed and received something out of this video, and check out that link in the description if you would like to learn more. Much love.